Welcome back to the Two Blues podcast and to another live match reaction. Chelsea 2, Copenhagen 1, 7 European wins on the trot. But more importantly for Chelsea, the first away win since mid-December. It has been a while since we've been able to feel positive about an away game. And Enzo Maresca's Chelsea might have made things difficult for themselves tonight. It may not have been the most fluid, the most exciting 90 minutes. I've got to be honest, I think all in all, we probably played 30 minutes of football out of the 90. But that being said, an away win, the points come back with us. We take the advantage back to the bridge next week against Copenhagen in the return leg. And while it could have been far more comfortable, appreciate you, Eamon. I see you, my bro. If anybody wants that rainbow parve, shout my boy. Listen, while there are plenty of positives to talk about, fucking hell, what happened for 60 minutes there? What happened for? I know we got a result. I don't know where the Chelsea team went. I don't know who was playing. I don't know what the plan was in the first half. I mean, that was arguably some of the worst football I've ever seen. Like, in terms of 45 minutes from a Chelsea perspective, miserable. I think, look, the first thing I want to say is I think Mayuka has been hard done by starting tonight. Fantastic opportunity for him. He becomes the youngest Chelsea player to have ever started in a European competition. But the game was not set up for him. The team was not set up for him. This opportunity was not set up for him. So I do question Maresca's, and a lot of people are going to jump on the positives of the changes he made at halftime, the players he brought on. Those players should have been starting, man. This is a team that just edged past Heidenheim, a team that we took a world-class performance from Philip Jorgensen to keep them out. I do think we should have prepared a little bit better. I think we should have started, Neto, Enzo. I think the team could have been stronger. And I think Maresca realised that at half-time, which is why he brought on Enzo and Kunku. And obviously Enzo, had a big impact in the middle, and Kunku not so much, but still a bit of an impact off the left side. But Tyreek George, I mean, another start for him today. If I'm not mistaken, his first 90 minutes for Chelsea first team. I don't know if he's completed a 90 minutes before, but fantastic for him to complete a 90 minutes and grab an assist in the middle of that as well. I think it's testament to him, testament to the tenacity, to the work rate, to the willpower of a player like Tyreek George that has managed to push through. And I'll be the first to hold my hands up and say, I mean, I've watched this guy from under 18s to under 21, through the development squad. He's fantastic. He is a cut above the majority of development of academy players. But there's a big jump when you're going from academy to first team football. And I do feel like that element of physicality, Tyreek George does lack. But games like tonight, playing 90 minutes in a European competition, we can talk about Mickey Mouse Cup. You can belittle it all you want. At the end of the day, he's an 18-year-old academy graduate playing in a European competition. To him, might as well be Europa League, might as well be Champions League. To a player like that, the occasion is all that matters. And to come on and put out a performance like that, I think he was consistently very, very good tonight, consistently dangerous, creating chances, wanted to go at his man and make something happen. And I do kind of think he definitely needs a loan move, at least one, I think maybe two. One loan move to the Championship will definitely get him up to speed, get him a little bit more physical, get him a little bit better in terms of his decision-making in the final third. But he at the moment, he is showing that persistence is key. If we keep trying, if we keep pushing him to kind of up that level, he will do it. And he played as a false nine tonight for a lot of the game. I think that's a lot of expectation. That's a lot of weight on his shoulders. And fair play, I do think overall, I think over 90 minutes, I can't complain about Tyreek George. I think fantastic for him, fantastic, experience for him and for the youngsters, Shim as well. It'd be gutted to have been hooked at half time and to have, not impacted the game very much in the first half. But I don't think it was poor. I think it was just the Chelsea as a whole weren't very creative, didn't really get going until that 46th minute. And I do think, you can't sit here and blame Mayuka on his first start for not coming out and doing more in that first half. I think he's got to be fed more. You know, I do think in hindsight, I wouldn't have started him, you know, jumping into a system he's very unfamiliar with. The players aren't familiar with his movement, with his presence in the box. It was always going to be a little bit of a mismatch for him to start a game like tonight. I feel like, you know, you go 2-0 up, then you throw on your Shin Mayukas. Then you look at, you know, giving those players that experience. But the first and foremost, you know, role tonight was getting the job done. And it might not have been pretty. It might not have been the margin of which it could have been or we wanted, but it is done. We have managed to get it over the line. I'm not sure who to dig out for the goal. Was it could Sanchez have done better? I don't know. Not enough for me to sit here and dig him out and to say it was a mistake. Again, though, I will reiterate, set pieces. We've spent God knows how much money on set piece coaches from Brentford, Arsenal, Brighton, all this nonsense. Millions of pounds down the drain. And it is down the drain because these Chelsea players cannot mark for shit. Whether it's zonal, man-to-man, whatever it is, these Chelsea players cannot deal with a set piece. And we are no threat going forward. It is something that needs to be worked on. But at the end of the day, that's a small margin, a kind of finer detail of the game that we need to work on in 2-3 years when we've got the pattern of play and all the players in the team, everything else sorted. But that is something else that I noticed tonight. Gabriel in the cut talking about, well, yeah, two contradictory points here. The first one, now Gusto's injured. What a mess. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was a couple of things that got him injured in the first half. I don't know what to say about that. It seems like we all lamented Pochettino, his ways of training and what he did to the squad last season. But, you know, we're gradually creeping up to that point where we've got 10, 12 players on that injury list in that fucking rehab room. And it is getting a little bit worrying that we might not have prioritized correctly in terms of the transfer market and recruitment. You know, all this focus on the youth. I've long advocated, I've long said we need to look at, you know, experienced individuals to be able to tie this team over in big games, big moments. I think we are starting to see that this Chelsea squad, you know, while everyone was talking about 40 players, they've got the best depth in the world, let alone England. You know, it's a big campaign. A lot of those players are injury prone, and we're starting to see, I suppose, the bottom of this Chelsea squad. And I think, you know, players like Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, nowhere near good enough. You know, played in the... did he touch the ball today? I didn't see him. I didn't hear the commentators mention him once. I don't really know what he does for this team. He's a very, very nothing player. He needs to go immediately. But Reece James into midfield. Now, this is a conversation, and I want to give a quick shout out to my co-host, Mr. C Money Picks, who said we should sell Reece James. He's already texted me saying sorry. Just sorry. Nothing else. No elaboration. No reasoning. No nothing. Just sorry. There's a reason this guy is integral to everything Chelsea does. I think you look at the class of 21, as you know, the teams that won the players, that were with us when we won the Champions League. You know, Reece James being the only remaining player, bar Kepa Arrizabalaga, who is on loan but still contracted to the club. Reece James is the only player still playing for Chelsea that was part of that 2021 Champions League winning side, and he is, not just from a quality standpoint, but from a leadership and a personality standpoint, he is the only one that kind of understands what it means to have won that, to have been there, done that, and to have played at the top of his game. You know, no other. There are plenty of Chelsea players in this squad that have potential, but nobody has the experience in this squad like Reece James. You know, even players like Tosin Adarabioyo, older than James, you know, they've never hit the height. They've never won the Champions League. They've never done that. So Reece James has played on these big occasions, these big stages, and has crucial knowledge and experience and intelligence to pass on to these younger players. And it was a big, big help tonight. And obviously him getting that goal, you know, the first 45 minutes, miserable. As Stephen said in the comments, borefest. I mean, good performance, was it? I said earlier, I think we played probably 30 out of the 90 minutes. If that. That's being generous to say that we played a third of the game. I think we sat off the entire first half. I don't know about gave them too much respect. It just looked like we couldn't be bothered. It looked like we were expecting a far easier game than it was. And then halftime went, I imagine that both teams got bollocked because both teams came out with way more intensity. But Maresca must have been pretty scathing in that, halftime team talk to come out and give Chelsea that reaction, that impetus in the second half to go out and get that goal immediately. But look, Reece James, I think, is integral. Is so important to this Chelsea team. And even when, he hasn't played for a year, 18 months, what good does he bring to the team? People are saying it'd be cutting our nose off to spite our face to sell Reece James. El Capitan, this guy, the only one in this Chelsea team that knows what it means to have been there, done that, but also to bleed blue. We've got international winners. We've got Enzo Fernandez has won the World Cup, hit heights that many of these players will never hit. But he hasn't got the experience, the know-how, the been there, done that Reece James has, which is so important to this Chelsea side. And I think having the more experienced players involved in the Conference League, I mean, it's a bit of a conundrum because, I mean, a lot of those players, I mean, Palmer again tonight looked like he wasn't up for it. Looked like maybe he thought the game was beneath him. I don't know. I'm very, I will never call Palmer out. Never in my life. Regardless of how many performances, stinkers, we could say he drops consecutively, I will never call Palmer out. Because what he did last season repaid that 40 mil and more. And we could never be mad at Cole Palmer. For the platform that he's built himself and Chelsea, yeah, I could never be mad at him. But again, his performance tonight, Meady. I mean, he's we discussed it in midweek, myself and Mr. C Money Picks. So if you want to watch that, the full conversation, go back and watch that live stream on the YouTube. But I just feel like we're waiting for that game for him to come good. And I feel like Southampton, he was creating chances. He was kind of getting there, but it was just that confidence that, when you lose your touch, you ain't got your shooting boots on. And it was those chances that didn't go in that would have every other game he played. But I feel like you have one of those and you think, you know what? Get that gone, get all of those out the way. The next game, we're going to go and attack it. And I'm looking at Leicester and thinking, Cole Palmer is still going to be my triple captain. He's still going to cook against Leicester. But now I'm thinking, is he? Has the hunger just kind of dropped a little bit? I don't really know. I feel like, we're all very aware that when you play against better opposition, it increases your level. It's natural. Anyone that's kicked a football, anyone that's played at any level, whether it's Sunday League, district, county, whatever you've played, if you play against better players, it ups your level. It makes you play better. So I do feel like there is a similar, there is an element of that with Cole Palmer, Christopher and Kunku, players that are used to playing at the elite level and they're going against these players. And it's kind of like, it's such a change, such a switch up from what they're used to. But I do feel like at the same time, there's only so many times I can sit here and say, oh, they're used to playing at a better level. You got to adapt. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. You should be stat padding against these teams. And Cole Palmer again today, couple of chances, maybe should have taken. Couple of assists he maybe should have made. And it is, it's one of those where I think there's many variables. I think obviously it's a natural drop-off in consistency from last season. You've got the fact that he's playing in slightly a different position. Maresca's been having him off the left a little bit. Today he was through the middle. It seems to vary though, because some people, I think Cole Palmer's best position is that 10. Some people think it's off the right. I think he's a little bit limited off the right in terms of his creativity. When you give him that Hazard role, that ability to just kind of float, go where the game needs you to go. That's when he performs best, I feel. But we haven't really seen that Cole Palmer in the last, now 7 games. And it is getting to a point where it's kind of nuts to say because, a season and a half ago, we never would have had these expectations for him. But he put up such good performances, so many numbers last season that this is now, even when he puts in a good performance, if he doesn't score 2 and assist 2, we're sitting here thinking, oh, what's he doing for the team? We need to bake off Palmer. As I said at the start of this little rant, I could never be mad at Palmer. The 40 mil that we spent on him has already been repaid. I'm not going to sit here and dig out the best player in a Chelsea shirt since Eden Hazard. So, yeah. Interesting. Let me know what you think, though. Do you think that's more of a Maresca thing? Do you think that's more of a Palmer dropping off thing? Do you think it's a position thing? What do you think? I think there are multiple variables, I think, and we did discuss this at length, with Charms in midweek. So go and watch that if you haven't already. But yeah, Gabriel says as well, but Palmer in the middle doesn't get the ball as much as he would playing on the wing. Do you think? I think that's counterintuitive. I think you'd arguably get the ball more in the middle. You know, your centre midfielders, whether it's a defensive or attacking, is going to see the ball more than a winger. I feel like naturally the game is played more down the middle, but maybe that's just because I've grown up as a centre back, centre mid. But yeah, I mean, look, it's a good result. I'm glad that people are agreeing with me, because every time I see the comments, every time I see the commentators, it's, Dewsbury Hall's done this, Dewsbury Hall's done that. Oh, that's tidy from Dewsbury. I didn't hear his name mentioned tonight. You know what? On stream, let's fucking stat pad this. Let's have a look. Copenhagen versus Chelsea foot mob. Let's have a look, because it says there, what was his rating? 7.2. Fuck off. He got a better rating than Kiernan Dewsbury Hall completed the most dribbles in the match, 2. He had a 74% passing accuracy. He misplaced 9 passes, which stinks. 41 touches. 0 out of 2 accurate long balls. 4 out of 7 duels. So less than 50%. Sorry, more than 50%. Look, I mean, that's why I don't read stats. That's why I fucking watch football with my eyes. I think, yeah, he's such a nothing player. I don't have anything against him per se, but like, I feel like he's very similar to Gallagher, whereby not just the Chelsea fan base, but also the media mollycoddle him and give him more credit than he's due because he's English. I don't get it. He doesn't get near this Chelsea team. I don't understand. Enzo Fernandez had a great second half, didn't he? He obviously came on, scored, big impact. Has he hit the heights that we were expecting to? So obviously when we signed him, 107 million, was it? Record-breaking fee. I was very, very excited when we signed Enzo Fernandez. And I do feel like Moises Caicedo kind of swept his transfer under the radar a little bit, because we went out and broke the transfer fee again within 6 months. But I've got to say, I've always been a huge, huge fan of Enzo. Enzo Fernandez is my kind of player. And I think he plays best when he's behind the ball. I feel like he's got more energy and more attacking minded than Jorginho, but I feel like he plays best in that 5 role. I feel like when he's got Caicedo to do that kind of protective sweep behind him in that Makalele role. But I feel like Enzo Fernandez is a fantastic distributor of the ball, fantastic passer. I don't feel like we've seen that range this season as much as we have in the last 2. Definitely not when he first joined. I think it has diminished kind of year on year, but I feel like this year he's adding different elements to his game. And it's that kind of Frank Lampard arriving in the box at the right time, you know, making those late runs, adding those kind of goals to his game. It's a different aspect. It's something we haven't really seen from him. And I feel like it's not too difficult from a midfield perspective. You know, when you just kind of, that's a small kind of responsibility to add onto your game. When he has so many roles and responsibilities in this team, to say, look, arrive late on the cross, be that last man on the edge of the box, not too much to ask from him. And I feel like he's doing that role fantastically. But I will say, I feel like his distribution has suffered. And I feel like we don't see the passing range from Enzo Fernandez that we did last year, the season before. I would like to see that again. However, when he's being more impactful as a box-to-box, it's not something that's an overarching concern for me, because he is kind of transgressing that role from becoming a more of a deep lying playmaker to a box-to-box midfielder. It's going to be the most interesting thing about this central midfield to me is going to be when Andre Santos joins next season, because at the moment I see him as that box-to-box. I mean, he's a great breaker up of play, great physical physical, defensive attacking minded. He encapsulates everything you want in a centre midfielder. And I feel like his work rate is a lot more industrious. He's a lot more kind of able to do that hard running, those hard yards, whereas Enzo Fernandez is more kind of suited to the passing role. While he's still a gritty player, while he can still make those tackles, the physicality is by far not his best asset. His aggression is not, while he's got that South American blood, that's not what he's in the team for. He's in the team to distribute, to get those attacks going, to pick those passes, to find those players when we are transitioning. And I do feel like he is, like I say, he's kind of changing roles, changing responsibilities. And we haven't really kind of nailed down Enzo Fernandez to a specific position. When you think of Moises Caicedo, when he's in the first team, we know what role he's playing. He's never going to move from that role. He's always going to be that protective screen, that Makelele, that central defensive Mikel patrolling role. Whereas Enzo Fernandez, he's being asked in his Chelsea regime to play as that protective midfielder, also as a 5 looking forward. He's also been asked to play as a box-to-box, a 10, a second striker. He's been asked to do so many roles that I feel like we're losing what he's best at. And that is a big thing with a lot of these Chelsea players, is I feel like we're looking at a lot of Nkunku, the prime example, a player that is fluid and can play in 2-3 positions and excels in different roles when he does them sporadically. But obviously he has a position that suits him best. And while I am all for this fluid front line that can switch around, and when one of them's doing great in a false 9, he does, and when one of them goes up, it's fantastic. But at the same time, I'd like consistency. I'd like people to know their jobs, know their rules. As you've just said, it's a lot of sacrifice, Gabriel. It's a lot, but 10 years ago, you were asked to play one position. In this Enzo Maresca system, these Chelsea players are being asked to play 4-5 positions, which, look, you're getting paid 150, 200 grand a week. Not a single chip off your shoulder. You should be able to do it. That's not what I'm saying. But at the same time, the game has changed. You cannot deny that the roles that these players are being asked to play, these responsibilities these players are being given, is different than when they were growing up, when they had been playing 5, 10, 15 years ago, whatever it is. The game is evolving and changing year in, year out, to a point where it is just unrecognizable, from what it was previously. And this is, from passing out to the back to the way that teams build up. You'd rather keep the ball than waste a chance. I'm here for the concept of it, the idea of creating, perfect, beautiful football. I don't know. I feel like the basics. I feel like, I already mentioned before set pieces. I feel like defensively, our set pieces are atrocious. And that is one of the first things that you get taught as not even a defender, as a youngster. When you're getting into football, don't pass across your box. Goal side, if in doubt, get it out. Yeah, they're the basics that you get taught. But man marking is a concept to me that I do not understand. I don't not right. That came out so shit. Man marking is the only concept of defending I understand. I don't understand how marking and set pieces has been turned into such a technicality, such its own aspect of the game. Like the player you're marking throughout the game for 90 minutes, like you've got 11 players on 11, you've got 10 outfield players on 10 outfield players. You know who you are: centre back to centre forward, right back to left mid. It's not that hard. Maybe the formations differ, but it's not that difficult to know who your man is. And I feel like that should be exactly the same on set pieces. I mean, maybe you compensate if there is a particular mismatch in terms of height. If the left winger's 6'6" and your right back's fucking 5'0", you switch him out and put a centre back on him. But I do feel like the basics of the game, that's what we went back to with Tuchel, with Conte. When we went through those periods, those sharp adjustments, those big shifts in Chelsea style, has always been about going back to basics. Antonio Conte going to the 3 against Arsenal, 4-0 down, playing it on defense, shutting out clean sheets. Thomas Tuchel came in. The first couple of games Thomas Tuchel managed were boring. 0-0, 1-0, 2-0. But we got the job done. We got a clean sheet. And that was the most important thing. And the one thing I will say, which I should have said earlier, is the Two Blues standing bet still stands. Every single time Chelsea play, put your money on Chelsea to win and both teams to score. It will come in more often than not, I guarantee you. Should have put that bet on tonight, but I didn't. My bad. We'll do it again next week. We are going to the game again next. We're going to the game next week. Also, I'm going to the game tomorrow. Under 21s. Come on, Ipswich. Let's get back-to-back wins on the channel. But yeah, I think it's the basics. I think just getting those simple things right, everything else will fall into place. Everything else will follow. Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. But Gabriel says, marking, running, scoring some goals and distributing. What's this? This Enzo or more general? I'll wait till you reply before I say that. Let's have a quick look on the Instagram. Palmer's goal drought is mad. Listen, if he's currently my captain on fantasy, I'll uncaptain him tonight and he'll score at the weekend. Don't worry, lads. Kaka says, Enzo, glad to see other people are appreciating Enzo. Enzo has unlocked his inner Lampard. That's what I'm here for, man. That's what I'm here for. Kiernan was horrible, according to me. Cucurella was brilliant. Yeah, I mean, look, I'd expect our first choice left back and arguably one of, if not the most consistent left backs in the Premier League this season. I'd expect him to have the Copenhagen winger under wraps. But yeah, no, solid performance from Cucurella tonight, as he has been all this season. And look, I'll be the first to hold my hands up. I hated Cucurella. I had to take a second there because I wasn't sure whether to use past or present tense. I'm still not his biggest fan. I don't like the shithousery, the dive in, the theatricality. I hate all that. But performances, unbelievable. I mean, this guy has flipped his Chelsea career on its head. I would have traded anybody for Cucurella 18 months ago, 24 months ago. I would have given anything to get Cucurella out of this team. But he's come good. You know, persistence has paid off. Fingers crossed the same will come with Robert Sanchez, but I ain't fucking expecting that. Who fucking knows? But yeah, Cucurella is one player that, yeah, I cannot moan about, and I've got to hold my hands up. He has completely changed my perception of him this season. Rick says, is Matisse Amugu trash or why ain't he getting game time? Good question. I expected him to get game time tonight. I think he would have if we were in a more comfortable position. But obviously the game was a little bit more difficult than we anticipated, given that we had started, our youngest starter ever in a Chelsea shirt. We weren't anticipating this game to be this difficult, which is why he made those halftime changes. But I agree. I think we should have been a little bit more serious in the lineup. Would have been nice to see Amugu in the second half today, but yeah, again, it's one of those where, while I am firmly on the side of, it would have been silly to bring back Andre Santos in the summer, in January, and obviously Leslie Ugo-Chukwu, the other one on loan we could have brought back. While I feel like it, would have been maybe an oversight to bring them back and stunt their development, to get another centre mid in when we had those on offer was silly. We didn't need it. There are players in the academy and that we could have brought back from loan before going out and spending more money. I do feel like Amugu is one that they've kind of got in to train and get used to the first team and the nature of the Premier League for the next 6 months and then loan him out to another top league. But yeah, strange decision for me. But let me know what you thought in the comments, guys. Obviously, as you can see from that left side, FootMob have given Reece James the man of the match. And yeah, I can't disagree. El Capitan shines again. Big up everybody that's tuned in on the YouTube, on the Instagram as well. Gabriel, big shout out to yourself, Eamon, Abdi, everybody else that's tuned in. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the channel at Two Blues Podcast on the Instagram and the TikTok as well. We will be back. I might do some content tomorrow. You will probably get a chopping it up with Charms tomorrow, but I am going to the under 21 game tomorrow, so you might get some content from me. Either way, it'll be on the story. Stay notified on Two Blues Instagram. Yeah, appreciate everybody. Big up yourselves. Back to winning ways. Hurt the Chelsea.